Ready? So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today for ERISA's Exemplary Systems in Government Awards webinar. This is the second in a four-part series celebrating last year's 2020 ERISA Exemplary Systems in Government Award winners. And this award, the ESIG Award, has been in existence for 40 years, since 1980, 81. And they recognize outstanding achievement by government agencies in the use of geospatial information technology. I think a quick and easy way to explain ESIG Awards to someone who's not maybe part of our industry is that they're, quote, the kind of like the Oscars of GIS awards. They're very highly coveted, and since they have such a long history, they've gained a lot of prestige. So the award winners in each of these four webinars are very kind to share their work with us. My name is Rachel Parrinello, and I'm a member of the ESIG Award Committee, along with about 15 other people. And it's a pleasure for us every year to review and help choose the award winners. I'd like to remind you all to please remain muted during the webinar today, which will be recorded. We can use the chat function, and I think what we're going to do is go ahead and have the presentation first, and then we'll have plenty of time for Q&A through the chat window towards the end. So with that, today's webinar is celebrating the City of Phoenix Street Transportation Department's work on their interactive pavement maintenance dashboard. This was the single process award winner in ERISA's ESIG Awards for 2020. And three presenters, actually two primary presenters are presenting today on their work. The first is Theany Su. She was born and raised in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and graduated in 2018 from Temple University with a background in environmental science, communication studies, and a GIS certificate. She has been working with the City of Phoenix since leaving Temple and working in GIS since June of 2019. Some of the responsibilities that she works with are building maps and applications for street transportation assets in the City of Phoenix, including pavement, ADA curb ramps, and traffic signals. So we'll meet Theany in just a second. And then a second presenter, of course, also is Christopher Lai. Christopher was born in Phoenix and has lived in Arizona his whole life. He received his bachelor's degree and master's from Arizona State University. He has a bachelor's degree in urban planning with a minor in sustainability and a master's degree in GIS. He's been practicing GIS for the last 5 years and officially started with the City of Phoenix just over a year ago. And his responsibilities for the city are building and maintaining bikeways and streetlight data, also building maps and applications for those assets. So Theany and Christopher will be presenting, and then thirdly, at the end, their GIS coordinator for the city, Curtis Pulford, will jump on to say hello or as needed. So Theany and Christopher, if you're ready, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here. To start off, a little background on Phoenix and our Streets Transportation Department. Phoenix is the 5th largest city in the US with a population of over 1.6 million people, covering more than 500 square miles of land. I'm from Philadelphia, as you just learned. So us being the 5th largest city for a while and Phoenix taking that over is pretty cool. Another stat I want to throw out there is that the greater Phoenix area has over 4 million people. So we have a lot of people commuting in and out of the city as well. Our Streets Transportation Department, in relation to our dashboard here, is responsible for 5,000 miles of streets. In addition to being responsible for the maintenance of pavement, streets designs, builds, and manages other assets such as streetlights, traffic signals, traffic signs, bikeways, and pedestrian crossings, just to name a few. Within the Streets Department, GIS is a valuable tool that we use to display and manage our data. We have 3 main GIS groups within the department: our land-based systems, which focuses on center lines and right-of-way; our stormwater management team, which manages the drainage and runoff from streets and parking; and our asset location systems team, which is the team Chris and I are on. And we capture the locations, characteristics, and attributes of the streets of some of the assets that we listed above. Our team developed the pavement maintenance dashboard in support of our work with the pavement preservation program.
All right, so the Accelerated Pavement Maintenance Program was originally the T2050 program. It's a 5-year program that's supposed to run from 2019 through 2023. But with all the great work that our maintenance team has done, all of those projects are scheduled to be completed by 2021. And the Accelerated Pavement Maintenance Program is adding on a new 3 additional years worth of projects. To help prioritize and schedule both the current and future planned projects, the street team uses data that we collect from a van that analyzes the road quality. What the van does is drives through all the different streets of the city of Phoenix and measures the roughness of the road. It detects cracks and other defects. With all that data, the van processes all of it and gives the road a quality rating. And so the maintenance team uses the data from the van along with public input to help target the roads that need the most maintenance. Once a project is created, all projects are entered into our pavement management system, which is a tool that we created to hold all of the data for each of the planned and completed projects. With this tool, the maintenance team is in charge of maintaining and updating all of the attribute data and the table data for our maintenance project feature class. So some of the data that they keep track of are the start and end dates of projects, which is what we use to symbolize the dashboard application, different treatment types, whether it be the mill and overlay, which is our main preservation type, or one of the preservation resurfacing treatments, which are temporary fixes to help the lifespan of a road go a little bit further, especially if they're just a little bit wear and tear down. Other data that they keep track of are the mileage and total surface area. They take in who the project manager is and also sometimes the budget. And along with all of that, they also can list out all the different steps for each of the projects, because mill and overlay will take multiple different processes, and starting from prepping to the final overlay. And this is what we created. This is the main application, the dashboard. It's used to be a way to see a quick map of all the completed and planned projects, as well as using the easy filters to see the important data that the user needs.
So why is this dashboard important? If we think back to what Chris was just talking about with APMP, the 5-year resurfacing plan was even further accelerated to be done within 2 paving seasons. So really fast work. We're now able to show what treatments are applied to the roads, where those projects are going to be, when they're going to happen, which allows us to be transparent with the public about these projects. So no surprises. Some of the department goals in creating this paving dashboard were to have public involvement and feedback. So where are citizens seeing these issues, and are they lining up with what we have planned? As well as having the ability to see these changes and progression in real time by using live data. Now, how do we even get input from the public? First and foremost, it had to be simple to understand and easy to use, because otherwise, if something's hard to use, it would deter people from even using it. There were some things that we had to realize. This is going to be a public website. So there were limitations that we had to add into the website on what users can and cannot do. Primarily not having anything open-ended, So not having a text box that they can type anything into and not having a picture submission box. Next was, what do we want to know from the public? What exactly were they seeing was wrong or damaged with the roads that would be important for us in prioritizing our different projects?
And this is what we created. The citizen input application shows all the currently scheduled plans. The orange roads symbolize the mill and overlay treatment, which is our main treatment. The bold gray roads are the preservation treatments like crack seal and slurry seal. The reason why we thought the citizen input application was necessary is because the citizens are the ones driving and using the roads daily. They have a better feel of where the trouble areas are in their neighborhoods and their daily commute routes. So allowing them a way to tell us where they want to see improvements is valuable data for the use of future planning. So what they would do is look at the existing projects, and if there's a roadway that's cracked or has a pothole or maybe even a rough surface outside of a scheduled project or even on, they can add a point to indicate where the defect is. Along with all the problems that they can point out, they can also leave comments saying whether or not they appreciate certain projects that are already planned. So if we continue to get positive feedback on certain projects, it allows us to know that we're heading in the right direction with our planning process. And all of the comments that the public puts in are domains, which help restrict the type of things that could be said. The main focus of that is to help make it easier for us for data processing. If it was an open text field, there would be a lot of data cleaning that we would have to do, and reading 100 different ways that there's a pothole in a certain area would take a lot of time. And not only does it make it easier for us, it makes it easier for the user. A typical scenario would be someone driving over a pothole and having someone in the car load up the app on their mobile phone. So opening up a text field on a mobile phone is cumbersome and it takes a lot of time. So it makes it very easy for them to be able just to select the problem that they see and just put it on the map. So currently this application is offline. It was created ahead of a paving season to gather information to help highlight areas that need attention. So if we see a certain area with a lot of problems, we can either extend the boundaries of a project that's nearby, or if it's kind of isolated and needs a lot of attention, we can create a brand new project just for that section.
Now we have public input from the citizen application. How do we look at that data in a meaningful way? How do we process that data? In order to analyze the data, we had determined a method to display the data for internal use. And since it was going to be internal, it was a GIS product that we could simply display. So unlike the citizen application, it didn't need all those bells and whistles for a public website. The most important aspect was having the ability to apply selectors and filters for internal use. This was important because we were looking to balance the amount of work that was going on in each council district. So being able to put those filters on was important for us to see. This is the internal dashboard that we ended up creating. To preface, this dashboard is also no longer active as it served its purpose for the start of APMP. We created an internal dashboard to display the 7,300 points that we received, which was amazing. This ended up being similar to a report of the citizen application data. So on the right, you could see that there's a point and an address related to a point that a citizen had put in. If you zoom into a map and click on a point there, it'll have a pop-up with a bunch of details that the citizen was able to put in the application. On the left here, you can see filters and selectors, one for different time frames. You can do a custom time frame, the last day, the last week, so on and so forth. And then also we put in those domains that we put in for the citizen application. So different point types of cracked roadway, potholes, or rough surfaces. We also included the council district to see the interaction with citizens, as well as the importance for us is being able to balance out the work within each district. And then along the bottom, you can see that the points were counted for each type of point based on the selections made from the left. So as you were clicking through those different timeframes and different council districts, you can see how those numbers update as you're going through. So we have our citizen data analyzed, input. We reprioritized the treatment types that we were going to do on some of the roads. We rescheduled some of the things to align with the public feedback that we got. So how do we go about even displaying the upcoming paving projects that we're going to be doing? You know, how do we add in, being able to add in the data while also being able to explain the purpose and goals of our department? You know, people who don't know what's going on within the city and the streets, it was kind of an important aspect for us to put on there. And since this was also going to be a public dashboard, it was important that we were able to explain the dashboard, the use of it, the components, in layman terms for non-GIS users. As we were going along building this dashboard, we came across some challenges. The first was, since AGLL is configured to be on desktop browsers, it doesn't scale well on mobile devices. So how do we make a dashboard that is accessible through both desktop and mobile devices? You know, everyone nowadays, as Chris said, you know, pull up your phone while you're in the car as you hit a pothole. Everyone is on their phone for internet use. So this is a really important aspect to have. So we created two different versions, one that was able to scale to desktop and one that was able to scale to a mobile device. Next was, how are we going to present the dashboard to the 63.2% Hispanic population in Phoenix? So that's a large Spanish-speaking population here. It was important for us to have a Spanish version as well. So we created two versions that were translated into Spanish. Lastly, how are we going to spread awareness and bring traffic to the pavement dashboard? You know, at an internal level, it was really easy to pass along data and information, but how do we reach the vast public? How do we get this dashboard and information out there? So we debuted the pavement dashboard through a press release in June of 2019. We also had multiple TV and radio interviews along with that. We were able to publish in the PAYS newsletter that is inserted in the water and sewer bills. So Phoenix residents were able to learn more about this dashboard and maybe even find out about it a little bit more easily. We promoted and still continue to promote the dashboard through our social media platforms. Our Twitter still regularly posts about it, and we can direct people there if we need it. Say someone tweets at us, hey, when is my house area, is it going to be repaved soon? We can send them a link. They can check to see what treatments are going to be done there and when it might be done. It's also linked on multiple sites, including our Streets Transportation Department homepage. And a combination of all of these things, just within the two weeks of the dashboard being live, we were able to have 2,600 hits, which was amazing to see.
So when creating the dashboard, we decided to put it within a story map. The reason for that is that it helps put context around it by explaining what the Accelerated Pavement Maintenance Program is and also giving instructions on how to use the application, because not everybody has dealt with a dashboard before, and having instruction on how to use it was a good thing. Now, the first tab of the story map has an overview of what the program is. It gives a quick history of what it is and how the program came about, with a couple sections that explains the different street that we work on, and also the different types of treatments that they might get. The second tab is the dashboard itself, where they can filter out the data that they want to see and zoom into areas that they're curious about. And finally, the third tab contains instructions on how to use the dashboard, how to use the selections, how to read the graph and tables, and also all the widgets that are on the map itself. So the map, the search button, the legend, the home button, and how to navigate the map and use the mouse to pull up informations of the projects. All right, and now let's look at the dashboard. So when the dashboard opens up, this is the first thing you see, the first tab, which gives a quick overview of what the program is. So like I said earlier, it started off as the T2050 program. It got condensed to 2 years, and then the 3 additional years were added onto it. It talks about the goals of it, which is just to help improve the quality of the streets and help prolong its lifespan. The second part of the tab talks about the different streets that we work on. Arterials, which are our main streets. Collectors are the streets that help connect all the arterial streets. And then finally our local streets, which are our residential areas, and they also help connect all the collectors with the arterials as well. The second part talks about the different treatment types that the roads might get. If you look at the right, the top 2 images are the mill and overlay. So that's our main treatment type. Milling is the part where they strip off the top layer of the road, prep it for the new asphalt, which is the overlay part. The bottom 2 images are showing 2 examples of our preservation treatment types, and like crack seal and fast treatment, which are simple fixes. Like if the road is just slightly worn down, a little fix of the cracks could help prolong its life for a long time. And finally, the last part of this is the FAQ section. If the users have any questions, they can click on the link. They'll pull up a PDF and they can go ahead and look for some answers there. For right now, we're going to skip over the second tab and go into the third. The third tab has all of our instructions on how to use the dashboard. So this first part talks about the different selection and filters. The council districts will select the different council districts that you're interested in. Status type, whether it's planned or completed, so you can filter out just the ones that are planned if those are the ones you're interested in. Project type, so if you're more concerned again about the main treatment type, which is the mill and overlay, or some of the preservation treatment types, the resurfacing. And then third, the next part on this tab is where it shows you what the graphs and the table show on the right side of the application. So we can see the recent completed projects. This list shows the 75 most recently completed projects on the list. Next to that shows the total mileage of the selected projects, so planned and completed. And then on the bottom right, the gauge shows the percentage of completed projects of the selected projects that you have. And next it talks about the tools that are on the map, the search tool where you can look for addresses or intersection, the home button, which pulls up the full view of the city, the legend, it shows the symbology of our projects, and then the zoom and how to use the mouse to pull up the pop-up for each project. And finally, in this tab at the bottom, we put a disclaimer here just to let the user know that all of this data is live. We maintain this data and all of it can change week to week or day to day, depending on what the maintenance team wants to see changed on the map. So that's just to give them a heads up so they don't think they did anything wrong with the application if something's different the next day when they go look at it. Now let's look at the full application. When you open up the application, this is what you see first. Full view of the city of Phoenix, all of the projects being shown, with all the districts, all the different types of projects and planned and completed. So if we open the legend here, we can see that the 2 darker colors, the dark red, dark green, are the overlay projects. The light red and light green are the preservation treatment resurfacing projects. And then the 2 reds being planned, the 2 greens being completed. So we move over to the right, we can see the recent completed projects list. So again, it shows the most recent 75 projects that were completed. So if I click on this Jefferson Street project, it'll zoom me into the project, highlight it, and give me a pop-up and give me some information about the project. So this project is located on Jefferson Street from 16th to 20th Street It got a fog seal and it was completed on April 2nd, 2021, which is just a couple days ago. It was originally planned in 2020, so they might have rescheduled for different reasons. It could have been just so it fell in the same area when they go into the next street, or something else happened that they thought was more pressing. This project was only half a mile long, and yeah, and that's all the information that it shows on it. If we move to the right, we look at the two graphs. It shows all the mileages of the planned and completed projects. So we can see that there's 1,044 miles still planned to be treated. And then we have completed 1,354 miles of roadway. And on the bottom, it shows us the percentage of completed projects. So we are over halfway done with all of our planned projects from the 5-year span. Now, let's hit the home button and open up the whole map again. So on the left, we can see all the filters. So what the user would probably do, if I'm interested in my own district, if I hit something like District 3, it will highlight the district and it will filter out everything else outside of it, out of it. So now I can zoom into the area, look at the projects more closely. Let's let it load. And there we go. So these are all the projects in District 3. And if you look to the right again, all the completed project list, the mileages, and complete percentage should change as well with it. So if I was part of the public and the citizens, and what I'd probably be more curious about is all the planned projects. I want to know what's coming ahead, what's going to be around my area soon, or maybe it's something I want to plan my commute around. So if I look at all the planned projects, I can look at some of the roads, zoom into this road right here, click on the project, and it gives me a pop-up of that project. So this project is going to get a fog seal. It's planned for the fiscal year 2023, so I'd have a couple of years before I have to worry about it. And it's a 1.18 mile project. Now, fog seals and the resurfacing projects, they typically are pretty quick and don't take too much time to get done. So maybe I'm more interested in the mill and overlay, which is our big project that could take a couple days, maybe a week, depending on the size of the project. Like this run right here, Cave Creek. If I click on that, we can see that this is a 2.6 mile project planned in 2023. Now, when it comes time to it, I can plan around it, but it's still ahead in the future. So now to reset everything, I can click the home button, click all districts, all status, all types, and they'll pull everything back on the map. And that's the application. Close that for now. So a lot of good came from all this work with the application and the APMP. We saw a lot of positive feedback from the public and the city departments. The application is being utilized regularly within the city and the city council to help visualize progress and use it as a quick and easy tool for general reporting. Applications like this also helps bring a lot of recognition to our group and value to the GIS department. It has allowed our team to grow in numbers and be a part of a lot of different assets in the city. It's showing a more need for us as the group, and we're being requested for more products similar to this one. We have created more web maps, web applications, dashboards, and all of them are in various stages of completion, some in development, some in production. Currently, this asset team is maintaining data not just for the pavement team, but also the traffic signal team, the streetlights team, the bikeways team, curb ramps, and we're steadily expanding into other assets like vegetation, sidewalks, and street signs. Now, the last 3 are still in planning, but we are very hopeful to get into those assets here soon. And finally, of course, a big benefit of this is being an ESIG winner. We are very honored to be a winner of this award and being part of this webinar series.
We've seen great success in the dashboard. So what's next for it? Now that we're approximately midway through the Accelerated Pavement Maintenance Program, we're looking at projects that are going to be past that time frame of the program. Council has already approved projects for 2024, and we're currently planning for projects through 2029. We're going to be adding a new tab to the dashboard to show those approved and planned projects that are past APMP in 2023. This tab will eventually replace our current dashboard in 2024 after APMP is completed. The main difference between our current dashboard and the new tab that we'll be adding in is the planned and completed projects will be planned and approved projects instead, since they are for the future. So this completes our presentation. Here is the rest of the Asset Location Systems team. We would like to give a big thank you to everyone that came onto this webinar to watch, and a big thank you to Urissa for even giving us this opportunity to present our dashboard. So we'll open up the floors for questions now.
Thank you so much to Theany and Christopher. That was excellent. Let's see the questions we've got. All right, from Jill. Who is responsible for keeping the data updated, and what interface do they use to update?
So I did mention that earlier. We created our pavement management system, and it's basically a web form that the maintenance team do fill out. So they're in charge of all the data that goes into this feature class. So all the dashboard does is take all the information and puts the statistics up for us and all the data for us. So let's say if a project finishes on 7th Street, that maintenance, the project manager would go into our pavement management system. They would just say it's completed on this date, and same thing if it were to be planned. They would create a new form and enter in all the information for that project. So again, they keep track of the start date, end date, project managers, location, budget, mileage, surface area. All that data is kept up by the pavement management team.
I'm watching for other questions, and please, participants, type in your questions. In the meantime, I have a few that I'm going to ask as well. So the pavement management system is a tabular form, it sounds like. Do you have automated processes that link the tabular features back to the geographic features?
Yeah, so what happens is, the process is we get the pavement team, they'll create a project that they want to do. So they'll do a hand-drawn map showing us the boundaries of the project, send it to us, we'll create the feature and give it a project number. And with that project number is what they use to link all the other information that they enter in.
I see. Okay.
I'll just, Chris, if I could just add to Chris's comment, as part of the team, the pavement maintenance system that Chris was talking about is actually a SQL application with a web front end that our project managers handle all of the status of the projects. Prior to projects being linked to that SQL database, we create a year's worth of planned geometry based on where they want, for example, the 2024 projects that Chris mentioned had already been approved. Our team does the geometry for those, and then a unique ID is assigned to those. And then from there, everything is handled in that SQL form that the pavement maintenance people deal with. And different people interact with that form through different stages of the project, because along with pavement projects, there are pre-treatments involving concrete work and ADA facilities. And then there are regular treatments and closeout and inspections and all of that sort of stuff. the idea of this was for us to manage the spatial aspect of it, have it linked to that data so that it's live and everybody can use it. And it worked pretty well.
Thank you. The questions are coming in now. So from Alan, is the Citizens Input app a responsive app or a website?
It was an application, an AJOL application that we used. So they were able to just drop points in, and it was a selector field. So similar to a website, you could send out a link and end up on the application web.
And it was responsive in that as soon as they put their point on the map and their comment, which was those domains that we allowed them, so that they weren't, sending us cuss words and naughty pictures and stuff like that. We limited the comments that they could put in there, but as soon as they put their point on the map and added their attributes to it, it was visible to them. So they would see their, so in that sense, it was responsive.
It's also important so that there weren't multiple or duplicate points being shown on the map as well.
Right. Although we did still get duplicate points on the map.
From Brian, did you use the Survey 123 form? How was your form connected to the feature service? That may have already been partially answered.
We didn't use a 123, I don't believe, right? It was mainly just those domains that we used for the comment section and for the type of pothole or the type of points that we wanted to put on there. Again, as we said before, so for easy processing of data as well.
Yeah, it was, we kept it pretty simple for them to identify features that they either agreed with or disagreed with, and then gave them, a simple rating system for those. It wasn't a complete survey.
From Kelly, are you using any custom widgets? This web app builder developer edition, or are you able to get the functionality that you need out of the box?
For this one, it's all out of the box. We've got several other applications that require some customization, but not this particular one.
And then secondly, from Kelly, how long did it take to create the story map? And did you use the new story map builder, or is this the legacy version?
This was done in 2018, 19. So it's not the newest version. And I forget, what was the first part of the question?
How long did it take to create?
Well, there was a long process, as Theany and Chris explained, because we had, we wanted to first reach out to the citizens through that pin map type application that we showed, the citizen input application. Then we needed to process the application internally and decide how we were going to adjust our planning. So those were two different applications. And then when we got into the dashboard and story map, we knew kind of what we wanted to show, but we ran into those issues that Theany talked about in scalability, foreign language, and well, those are the two main issues. The publication of it was a different issue, but because we had to do essentially 4 different versions of the dashboard, one for mobile, one for desktop, one for Spanish, one for English. It took probably a couple months. I would say, yeah, at least 2 to 3 months. And part of that was, because we're a large bureaucracy in the city of Phoenix, there were a lot of people who had to look at this, and we'd have meetings every couple of weeks, and there'd be comments, and went back and forth a lot. The actual application building was much faster, but those of you who work in government certainly understand what I'm talking about with with the time lag.
I think it's quite a graceful and ambitious process, and probably played into the award that was won, that you're reaching out to different constituents, different languages, and trying to make it as adaptable for web and mobile. So that's to be commended, even though it's slowed down the process. It is really a great example. Let's see. I don't see any more questions right now from the participants, but it's not too late. We still have about, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes that we can use. So don't be shy, please type in questions. I have several more myself, being a GIS nerd like everyone else in this group. So I'm sure the city's transportation department is very large, and I heard in both of your biographies that you're mapping many other things like ADA curbs and streetlights and all kinds of things. So my question is, what kind of asset management system do you use at the city? Probably maybe multiple, and does it easily integrate with GIS data?
Well, believe it or not, the city doesn't have a de facto asset management system, and the street transportation department doesn't have one at all. So we have, I sat on a committee for the department to look at asset management, and what we are doing is making GIS kind of a central feature of that asset management, with then content management systems tied into it, and our work order processing and fiscal systems also tied into it through unique identifiers for the individual assets. And we've gone that way already with we're taking it one asset at a time rather than buying a big product and trying to cram everything in there and work on all those fixes. So we've got our pavement is working really good for us this way, and our street lights are working this way for us as well. We're about to have traffic signals fall in line. All our traffic calming devices are out there, and there's so many other assets that the street transportation manages, basically anything within the right of way. So we're tackling them one at a time and making good progress.
Okay. What do the boots on the ground, the employees that are the people, fixing the manhole covers and sealing the cracks in the pavement, do they use these tools, and what feedback do they give all of you?
They love them. Chris and Theany work with those people more than I do, I think, but we've developed applications for our inspectors out in the field to do different things. Chris has one developed for streetlight pole inspections, because a lot of the, we have irrigation and street lights put into grassy areas, and there can be deterioration at the base. So we have inspectors out there using a GIS application that has all of the drop downs for the rating system, and then another crew takes that data and goes out and replaces poles as needed. Theany is working with our concrete inspectors, who actually go out and check on the work of contractors who are building the curb ramps and that sort of stuff associated with it. And they've been thrilled to have GIS tools that give them all of the, take them right to the location, show them the status of the project in the system, and then allow them to add as-built type attribution to it. So yeah, it's been pretty popular.
Another question I have is a unique aspect of this is you're actively seeking crowdsourcing customer citizen feedback, which is wonderful. What kind of trade-offs do you all see in terms of engagement by the citizens versus the time or the checks and balances it may take to verify data that comes in from the public that may not be accurate or valid? There's a balancing act to that. And so what kinds of ideas do you have about crowdsourcing?
It's a great question, and I don't really have a great answer for it. You hit the nail on the head. It is kind of a balancing act. We haven't really figured out yet where that balance point works best for us, but you're absolutely right that it's very important to keep the citizens involved, but it adds another layer of complexity to the workflow. And I think, I think we'll be doing a lot more of this. And I think it's been well received by not only by the public, but the mayor and the council really like the fact that that they can tell their constituents that we care about your opinion. Whether they really do or not, I don't know, but but our application allows them to show that their opinions matter. So yeah, we haven't figured out the where we would want to trade off anything, but there's certainly more desire to do more citizen involvement.
That topic, crowdsource GIS data and its balancing act would make a really good panel discussion at a ERISA conference.
I would agree.
Yeah. Believe it or not, I still have another question, and then I think we might be able to wrap up if others don't. This is a little bit more of a technical question. So you were great to point out the difference between the web dashboard compatibility versus the mobile dashboard compatibility. Do you have any high-level tips and tricks that you could speak to? Because that's kind of a newer phenomena with ArcGIS Online, and I saw that in your web version you had a pointer to the mobile version, and then maybe in your mobile version you have a pointer to the web version. I don't know, but
Right.
Do you have any high-level tips and tricks about that?
Yeah, very high level. I would say the only thing, if you go into when you're developing the application, you have it in the editor mode. If you go, typically I use Chrome for doing that sort of thing. If you go up into the upper right-hand corner, there are, let me open, I want to make sure I'm saying the right thing here. There is, you know how you have the 3 buttons and it gives you history and bookmarks. There's also more tools, and there's developer tools. When you click on developer tools, you can view the application in several different mobile devices. Like I'm opening it right now, and you can look at it in a Pixel device, in a Galaxy, different iPhones, iPads, Surfaces, and that sort of thing. So what we did when we were developing it is experimented with configuring the different widgets in such a format that they made sense on the smallest of those devices. And we actually changed a bit of the content in some of them so that they, so that the graphics weren't quite as big. So that's very high level. It would be much better if it was, just responsive and went, changed as you develop, but that would have to be a custom application done within a different framework. But for a simple trick, that's what worked for us. I would, I learned a lot doing this and working on this. All of us, Theany and Chris mentioned how they had been with the city for, a little over a year or so. Part of that time was contracting before they got hired full time. That's true for myself as well. The department didn't actually have a GIS team dedicated to this sort of thing. I had been working previously in more coordination efforts prior to this, so working on this with these people was like a first experience into dashboards and story maps, and we learned a heck of a lot in developing this. And certainly we could, the new ones we're doing more customized and doing some better things with, but all in all, I think this came out pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's an understatement. You obviously you have a great team. You should be extraordinarily proud, and this is highly deserving of an ESIG award. You had big competition from all over the country and actually all over the world. And so, sometimes at the end of the day, when someone presents something like this, it seems so graceful that it's hard to remember all of the planning and sweat and tears and labor that went into it. And we really appreciate extraordinarily Theany and Christopher, especially your presentation, and Curtis, your leadership and words. I know, Urissa, this is exactly why we have ESIG Awards, and you're extraordinarily deserving of that. So mainly, we just want to thank you. I just posted a link to the 2 remaining upcoming ESIG webinars, which I guess are coming up in April. No, let's see, May and June. And then Wendy Nelson also has posted a link for folks for next year to apply for next year's ESIG Awards. And I would suggest that this is a pretty significant lift. These folks from Phoenix had to, submit a packet, examples of their work. So if you plan to submit an application for next year, give yourself enough time. I think the deadline is June 7th. So plan ahead, don't procrastinate. Christopher and Theany, do you have any final words of advice or wisdom for people who might be listening and thinking about whether or not they should submit an award or application for an award?
I mean, why not? I think it's a great opportunity, even just thinking back on your work, going through that process, and also just being able to share that information, I think is really, it's important, but it's also just really fun and great.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think you never know what your application or whatever you're submitting can affect somebody else. Like for us, like some of these apps that we've developed might seem pretty small or, not as useful as you would think, but other people's might see it differently. So I think just taking a hand and like Theany said, just throw it in there and see what you can get out of it is a good thing.
That's really what URIS is all about, is sharing ideas and collaborating and learning with and from each other. So I don't see any other, there's lots of great comments. People love your work, and we all thank you so much for your time. And we thank the attendees today for your time too. So with that, I think I'd like to sign off and say have a great Monday. Thank you, especially to Theany and Christopher.